These luncheons have become special for us here at the Chamber. They're a great way to do kind of 2 hours, immediate impact, immediate connection, immediate relationship building and growing, and then let's award some people and get you on with your day. So we've really come to enjoy both the Women in Leadership Luncheon, which we hold in the spring, and this is our inaugural Heart of the Shires, where we get to celebrate community leaders. So thank you all for coming. So for some housekeeping, I do want to make some mention that the bathrooms are downstairs. If you go down the stairs, the women's is directly on your right. If you take a left and go past the coat closet, that's where the men's bathroom is. So please release yourself if you need to. Perhaps a little bit more importantly, just because we are in an institution that honors culture and history and art, let's be sensitive about the food and drink that's going to remain right in this education center right here. So as I was talking to Martin, where the wood ends up there, don't go out of there with food or drink, but you can go out of there to go to the bathroom. So please do that. The Chamber created this luncheon specifically to highlight our community leaders and nonprofits. It's our belief at the Chamber that community leaders and nonprofits are the unsung heroes of society, weaving a tapestry of positive change, one thread at a time. They embody the very essence of service and compassion, and their collective actions create a fabric of community resilience that benefits us all. I want to especially thank our two presenting sponsors, Coggins Auto Group and Fidium Fiber, for truly making today happen. Without them, this luncheon doesn't happen. We've said it at the women's luncheon for that sponsorship. We'll say it with this luncheon. We connected with both Val and Stacy early on this year. We said we kind of have this idea. We've had success with one luncheon. We think we want to do another one in the fall. We're looking at an industry that needs a little bit of propping up post-COVID. Want to encourage them, and both of them hopped on immediately. So again, without them, we wouldn't be here today. So thank you, Coggins Auto Group and Fidium Fiber. And we're going to have Stacy and Val say a few words after this. Additionally, this luncheon wouldn't be possible without the place that we're hosting it in, and so we want to give we want to thank Martin and his crew and his staff and the Bennington Museum for hosting us here today. Likewise, we're going to have a really great luncheon. We love working with Pangea. They do terrific work. And so we want to thank Nick and his staff who are serving us lunch today. I also want to point out we do have some Chamber Board directors here today, and I'm looking at Tammy and Mark, and I got Shannon over. But if you are on our board, just give a wave of your hand. I think that it's important to acknowledge Beth over there. We've got Shannon, we've got Lily. Thank you guys so much. They are our leadership here. They're the ones that give our staff the green light to say, go do those crazy things that you guys do. So thank you, board directors, too. And finally, we appreciate the ongoing encouragement of our supporting sponsors. This list is a little long. I'm going to read through it pretty quickly. You can see them up here on our PowerPoint, but I just think it's a testimony to, they don't get a lot of props, but they're the ones that say, we believe in the nonprofit landscape. We believe in what community leaders are doing. Here's a little extra gas in the tank to get this luncheon going. So with that, we want to thank the Shires Young Professionals, the Bennington Banner, GNAT TV, Cat TV, who's filming today, the Wilson House, Hoffman Real Estate, the Bank of Bennington, Vermont Public, Abuela's Plant Boutique and Floral Design Studio. Beautiful arrangements on the table here by them. We've got Iconic Awards and Graphics, who will be giving out awards today, VNA and Hospice of the Southwest Region, and Dartmouth Health Southwestern Vermont Medical Center. Thank you guys so much for your support. At this time, I'd like to welcome up Martin Mahoney, who's the Executive Director of the Bennington Museum, to give you a welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you for coming to the museum. Thank you for respecting the museum. It's our pleasure to work with many of you that are in the building today. It's good to see some familiar faces and to meet some new people. Really hope you enjoy your lunch. Keep an eye on Bennington Museum press releases. We do have a gala happening on December 8th. Space is limited, so please do reserve early and come soon and come often to see the museum and all of its presentations. Thank you very much.
Great. Now I'd like to welcome two presenting sponsors that joined together to sponsor this luncheon, Coggins Auto Group, as we had mentioned, and Fidium Fiber. But specifically, I know Stacy Trudeau with Fidium Fiber wants to say a few words, as well as Val Harrington from Coggins Auto Group. So take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stacy Trudeau. I'm the General Sales Manager for Vermont and Maine for Fidium Fiber. We were very honored and excited to be a part of this event when Matt asked us to be one of the presenting sponsors. And a huge, huge congratulations to the award winners. From everything that I've heard, I've seen about these award winners, they really do go above and beyond, so congratulations.
All right, hello. I got an email last night about talking today, but I didn't read it until this morning. So I did put together a couple of notes. For some reason, it just didn't occur to me that being a presenting sponsor, I'd talk. So, as you know, my name is Valerie. I am the marketing director for the Coggins Auto Group, and part of my role has been community outreach and finding and supporting the local causes that we feel can help Bennington and the South Shire be and become an even better place for families and businesses alike. And over the years, I've come to know how many nonprofit and charitable organizations the Southwest Vermont has. And while we get involved with many organizations throughout the year, it is impractical for us to have a monetary contribution to all of them. So Matt and I had been talking about an annual event that Coggins could partner with the Chamber, and he presented his idea for the Heart of the Shires, and I thought it was a wonderful idea. As it would be like a great opportunity for us to try and touch all the wonderful organizations that the Shires has to offer, being that we can't do that on our own. So oftentimes it seems as though all of your organizations are easily overlooked. And what most folks see when they look at a nonprofit or a charity is your mission or what your charity serves, which is great, but I've heard people often wondering or asking, but how is it truly benefiting the economy to help our community profit? And what most people don't realize is that Vermont nonprofits contribute $5.7 billion per year to the economy through wages, retail and wholesale purchases, and professional service contracts, which is equivalent to nearly 20% of the state's gross state product, which is greater than manufacturing and construction industries combined. So what you all do is often thankless, and so today is about you, and we appreciate you, and thank you.
Great. Thank you, Val. Thank you, Stacy. We have the opportunity to hear from a keynote today. Unfortunately, Representative Ballant couldn't make it today. It was a late game decision. Apparently, there was a House Speaker that was named last week. And so she had to go back to Washington and stay in Washington. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say thank you, Representative Ballant and our two senators for sticking it out. This is an important luncheon. She did have some words to just say, thank you for all that you do. But we also understand that she is a servant leader as well, and we know that she's doing a good job in Washington and needs to be there, needs to get it moving again. So, we just thank Representative Ballant and her team. We wish you were here, but we appreciate the work that they are doing. So thank you. If you ever want to see a three-person team scramble, with a keynote missing less than a week before your luncheon, come to the Chamber of Commerce. You'll watch it happen. We are so grateful, and it's with great enthusiasm and a warm welcome that we get to invite another great keynote. Luckily in Vermont, we have plenty of them. I think we ended up generating a list of 15 people that we could probably find out a way to coax that to come here and do our keynote. And the sucker that did it today is Scott Finn. Scott and I got a chance to meet a few years ago. I remember it was over at Madison's Brewing, and he just wanted to introduce himself. And so Scott went to the top of my list. He'll share some of his stories. We know he's going on to another adventure, so I think that will probably come up and help us navigate some of the ways that we can succeed in our nonprofits. But Scott has a mission truly that strikes the core to our community, as he wholeheartedly has dedicated himself to the cause of expanding the reach and diversity of Vermont Public through the captivating power of storytelling, something that I know this chamber is a big fan of. But these very stories that actually bring people together. And I think if we were to take a look at Vermont Public, we're big supporters of them. That's what they do. They tell stories, they have narrative, they bring people together. Scott's remarkable journey through education, community organizing, and journalism has uniquely positioned him to impart invaluable insights on the significance of storytelling and community engagement today. So he'll be able to share that with us. His path is a testimony to his unwavering commitment to public service, many of what you guys are doing as well. In 2018, he took the helm as president and CEO of Vermont Public Radio, where his leadership was instrumental in the successful merger of VPR and Vermont PBS just 2 years later. When he's not running a nonprofit, and let's face it, raising money like the rest of us, Scott can be found alongside his wife and their 2 children at their home, where they're enjoying the natural beauty of Vermont's great outdoors, partaking in activities like hiking, snowshoeing, and exploring the woods. Join me in extending a warm and enthusiastic welcome to our keynote speaker, Scott Finn.
Thank you, Matt, for having me. And he didn't have to ask too much. I love to talk about the role of nonprofits and the role of media in Vermont. Both are super important. Vermont Public, by the way, is a nonprofit. We employ about 100 people, and we raise about $20 million a year. The vast majority of it comes from small business owners and individuals in our community. We reach about 1 million people every month, on radio, on TV, and increasingly online. And that's incredible when you think that Vermont's population is about 650,000 people. We'll talk about this in a second, but Vermont Public is an idea that about 40 or 50 years ago, national people really didn't think that we would take off. They thought that this place was too rural, too difficult to serve, too sparsely populated. And not only have we survived, but we've actually thrived. And it's only because of the support of Vermonters and people in the region, which is incredible, intense, and makes everything that we do possible. So if you are a member, thank you. If you're not, 1-800-639-6391 is the number to call. But I'm not going to just talk about Vermont Public. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and about the media today and local media. So I had a chance to meet with Tammy before this meeting, and the work that GNAT TV does, the work of the Bennington Banner, super important. I'm going to tell you why. But first, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I'm the little guy on top of my dad's shoulders. My dad was an appliance repairman. All 5 of his kids went to college, which he and mom never did. And I say that we did this because of 3 things: public schools, public television, and public libraries. We grew up at the public library every day after school. We had a really solid education in the public school system. And I'm old enough to say we put an antenna on our house and we got 2 channels, right? I lived in rural Iowa, which isn't too different from parts of Vermont, really. And one of those 2 channels was Iowa PBS. Mr. Rogers, Zoom, later Nova, Nature, they opened our doors to a wider world. And then because of that, I was able to go on to college, and I'm here today. There are the 5 kids. All of us graduated from college, all of us in different successful careers, mostly teaching, helping sort of careers. And there's mom. Mom never got to go to college, She's of that generation where they just didn't have the money to do it, and it wasn't easy to do. But thanks to her and public television and other things as well, we've all graduated and gone on to do wonderful things. You might recognize this, some of you, maybe not, but this was Vermont Educational Television's mobile production facility. This bus logged 200,000 miles over more than a decade, starting in the late 60s and through the 70s. And it's a real testament to the beginnings of public television in Vermont. It started out at the University of Vermont, and the idea was that it wasn't going to be a studio in Burlington, that we're going to be out in the community gathering stories and broadcasting them throughout the entire state. This young woman is Betty Smith. Betty Smith is the first employee of Vermont Public Radio. This is her back in 1977. Betty is still with us today. And if you turn on the radio midday, you're going to hear Betty Smith announcing the news, like she did way back in 1977. Again, like I said, both of these enterprises, national people came to Vermont and said, this is going to be difficult. You may have trouble doing this. But because we have the support of the community, and in this case, 40,000 Vermonters are members of Vermont Public. And that's how we're able to do everything that we do. We are a statewide and beyond service in radio and in TV. That's a map of our service area. There are some little gaps. Unfortunately, some of them are down here in southern Vermont, and I'm sorry about that. We have work to do. But in general, we are an entity that unites Vermonters. In a way, we create Vermont. Because if you're listening to Vermont Public, you know whether you're in St. Johnsbury or whether you're in Brattleboro, you're all part of the same media network. It kind of creates the state, and one of many entities that does so. That's me with a Muppet that my daughter made for me. I was a reporter for the longest period of time, and that's the reporter Muppet she made. But I started out after I got out of college at a place called Big Ugly Creek, West Virginia. It's named Big Ugly Creek because there was a man that lived at the mouth of the creek that was big and ugly. In West Virginia, they don't name their towns to attract people. They name their towns whatever they feel like. And that's a picture of the Big Ugly Community Center. We took an old elementary school and we turned it into a community center that's still in operation today, some 30 years later. And I learned a lot about what it takes to be able to get something done in a community. Big Ugly doesn't have the resources of most places. It doesn't have any money. It only has 1,000 people. But we fixed that community center with basically scrap wood and a lot of elbow grease and a lot of volunteer time. And with a little bit of grant money I was able to raise. And this is going on backwards, and I'm sorry you can't see these things. But I went from being a community organizer to going into journalism. That's me at a fund drive at WSF in Tampa. And I also worked at a newspaper for a long time called the Charleston Gazette. Is there anyone here from the Bennington Banner today? Just curious. All right, well, this is not going to be a surprise to you. So I used to work at a newspaper, and two things happened in the same year. We won the Pulitzer Prize for investigative reporting, and we went bankrupt. And what's sad about this is that for the longest time as a reporter, I thought that doing great journalism was going to be enough. And unfortunately, it's not, because the business model has changed. The internet has changed everything. It is possible, and by the way, newspapers today are more read than ever before. They're read online. It's not that people aren't interested in reading what's on the newspaper. It's that they're not paying for it in the same way. The revenue model has changed. Craigslist took away the classifieds. Monster.com and Indeed have taken away the want ads. It's called disaggregation, and it's how all the money kind of went out of the newspaper business. And that's a bad thing. Here's a great example of that. This is newspaper advertising revenue. It's basically the blue line, and until about 2000 it went up, and you can see what happened before 2020, and it's just gone down since. There's been a crash in the amount of advertising in newspapers. Meanwhile, that pink line that starts about 20 years ago is Google's revenue, which is through the roof. So it's a direct relationship. It's not that people stop being interested, it's that Google is getting all the ad revenue that used to go to things like local newspapers. Why does this matter to you? Well, it matters to you because losing local journalists and local journalism is bad for your society. And we can say that now because there's lots of studies that say what happens once you lose reporters in a local area. So for example, the hidden cost of losing your city's newspaper. In places that have either lost or almost lost their newspaper, there's research that shows that governments are paying more for services than in places that have not lost their newspapers. Why would that be? Well, no one's watching the store. No one's making sure that things are being bid out correctly and that the lowest price is being paid by local or state governments. So prices go up. Here's another example. There are more federal corruption cases in cities that have fewer journalists. Why is that? Again, the watchdog is gone, or at least not able to find out things as often. And so because of that, all of a sudden corruption goes up and there are more corruption cases happening as well. And a lot more that never reach, unfortunately, the courts. You know, Gannett, I hope there's no one from Gannett in here today. I don't want to offend, but it's just a fact that there are some publicly traded newspaper businesses that are basically, they're engaging in vulture capitalism, which is they're essentially trying as quickly as they can to cut the staff and the expenses of their newspaper to keep up with the declining revenue, and basically selling off the assets. So the best example of this in Burlington, the Burlington Free Press is owned by Gannett. They just recently sold their downtown facility for several $1 million and have moved into renting temporary space out in the suburbs. So that's how they're staying profitable, but it's not going to last much longer. And the digital media has been shown to basically take us as a society and pull us into two different directions. It's polarizing, and that has bad effects on our society as well. All right, a lot of depressing news. Sorry about that, but there is some hope. Oh, thank you. There is a little bit of hope. But by the way, I want to talk about myself a little bit too. So we moved to Vermont 6 years ago, in part because of this little guy, Max, who is my son. And Max loves to swim, and that is our local swimming hole that I am not allowed to tell anybody where it is, per Vermont rules, right? But Max has autism. And so one of the reasons we moved to Vermont is because of the services that he receives here, which are really, really good. Little story. We flew into Vermont and we're trying to find a school for him to go to. Our plane was delayed because of an ice storm and a huge winter storm in March. So we were supposed to go in on Friday to talk to this school, Camel's Hump Middle School. Couldn't make it. And we didn't get there until Sunday. So we told the principal this, and he said, that's no problem. We'll come on Sunday, open the school for you, and meet with you then. And we're like, wow. And welcome him into the school. And so we ended up moving to that district. He went there. He's doing really, really well. So Vermont's been great for us personally. There he is learning how to do hockey. He's learned how to ski. He's having a wonderful time. I can walk through the streets of my hometown. No one knows who I am. Everybody knows who Max is. It's that sort of thing. So Vermont's been good for us personally. That's my daughter Iris. She's at UVM, and she's studying to be a librarian. I think she's going to end up at SUNY Albany for her master's degree. So again, this has just been a wonderful place for us. For me personally, I've been involved with this, which is, what do we do about the fact that we're losing journalists in Vermont? What do we do about the fact that local journalism is in danger here too? And what this chart shows is, starting about 25 years ago, the difference between the number of public relations specialists in Vermont, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's the blue line. So that number has basically doubled over the last 25 years. And the number of journalists in Vermont, which has gone down by more than 50%. So even in Vermont, this is happening. Again, this is not news to y'all at the Bennington Banner. You have fewer people who are doing more every day, right? But a lot of people don't understand that even in places that still have the Bennington Banner, still have Vermont Public, there has been this decline in the number of journalists here too. Now, one thing that's happened is that we have tried to respond at Vermont Public. So there was a day 20 years ago when we only had 3 journalists. Now we have a newsroom of more than 20. So that is helping, I think, It doesn't replace the great work that local people do, but we do try to, I don't know, put our shoulder to the wheel and help. Oh, by the way, we did a lot of research before the merger about what people thought about us and what they wanted from us. And that's what this word cloud is, basically. And some of it was, you see, too Burlington-centric. I'm sure you feel that. But people were wanting education, arts, good news, community voices, environment, climate change, addiction and treatment. You see all of those things in there. This was from about 3 or 4 years ago. The one thing that's changed, there's an issue that's not very high in there that's now huge. Can you guess what that is? The thing that's changed in the last 5 years or so. Did someone say housing? Yeah, all of a sudden housing is as big as anything else on there. But 5 years ago, it wasn't something that people mentioned with us as much. Good news, basically we interpret that as meaning giving people a sense that things are not hopeless, that there are potential solutions to things that we face. So our reporting for climate, for example, doesn't just focus on the problems, it's focusing on how Vermonters are coming together to try to come up with solutions. Oh yeah, so I kid about this, but it's true. I don't recommend doing a merger during a pandemic. We didn't plan it this way, but it kind of happened. And we are succeeding, and it was hard. It was hard on all of our staff, on our boards. You understand. You all had your own challenges as well. But the thing that it's helped us to be able to do, this is a great example of that, is we've combined resources in ways that reach more people. So for example, we used to do separate debates, now we do one debate, and that debate reaches a lot more people on different platforms. Another example I'll give is the flooding that happened across the state. Because we were one combined entity, we were able to respond a lot more quickly, and also we were doing things online that we had never done before. So if you followed us on Instagram or TikTok, all of a sudden you were seeing a lot of coverage. Another thing that happened is that we were able to come up with materials and guides that people could download and be able to use to figure out things like, what do I do if my house is flooded? How do I go back into my house safely? That people were actually referring to. Our traffic, the amount of people coming to our website, more than quadrupled during the floods, essentially. And it was mostly for things about, how can I respond to the floods? That's something that couldn't have happened when we were two separate entities as easily. So it's been successful. There has been a part that's been controversial, which has been our name change. And by the way, if you say VPR or Vermont PBS, that's totally cool. Please don't apologize. It's absolutely fine. We did change the name though, and people ask, so I'm trying to answer that. We are one organization now with one purpose, which is to broaden and diversify our audience through stories that bring people together. It doesn't matter whether it's on TV, online, or radio. We love radio and TV, but we're trying to be more than that. And then finally, by the way, we need to work on our numbering. They're all important. They're tied for number one. Other options, we tried VPM and Vermont Public Media, but it was taken on the copyright level. So we hope you're getting used to it. Please don't ask me about it after this meeting. All right, and this is what we see as the problem that we're trying to solve as a media company. We're increasingly divided, disconnected, feeling disempowered as a country. That's one problem that we can solve. I think people don't trust the media, but when you ask people what media they trust the most, they trust local media the most. Because they're here. I'm here. You can talk to me. And so the fact that now when people think about the media, they're less likely to think of Bennington Banner and more likely to think about a national media company that they don't know the people, they don't talk to them. That's bad for trusted media too. So if we can save local journalism, we can help people feel more connected and empowered. That's why we're tackling this problem. The other issue is a business issue. For us, it's the fact that streaming is ubiquitous. There are more people that are now streaming TV than watching it on cable. That happened a year and a half ago, and it's just getting more and more so. So our traditional business of, oh, we deliver PBS programs through cable and through antennas to you, that's getting smaller and smaller. So we got to figure out, like, well, what are we if we're not doing that for people anymore? And what we are is we are a way for people to understand their local communities and connect to each other. That's what we are. So our goal, this is our new strategic plan, is that while we're maintaining that existing radio and TV audience, we are seeking a 50% increase in what we call our younger audience, which is 18 to 45, for our original content, the stuff that we make, within 3 years on any platform. So we're not trying to convince my daughter who's 18 to buy a radio. That may not happen. She may not be willing to do that, but we are letting her know about our podcasts. That's an example of that. And we're on our way there, actually. It's going really well. We've seen great increases in the number of people who are accessing us online. Finally, we are doing this in part by knowing that we don't have all the stories. If we pass the mic and the camera to other people in the community, they can tell stories too. So we have something called the Made Here Fund. We raised $100,000, to give 10 different media makers the opportunity to tell stories about Vermont. So for example, across the mountain in Brattleboro, there's a group of women that are doing stories about the Afghan immigrants that have arrived in southern Vermont. And you'll be hearing those stories as a podcast and also on Vermont Public very soon. So that's a good example of that. So when we think we do that, Vermont's going to become more engaged, informed, inspired. We're going to be able to protect our traditions of civility and community, which I do think are under risk here, but we can protect them. And that people will continue to use Vermont Public. That even as radio and TV are less important in people's lives, we're going to be present to them on whatever platform they choose. So that's it. And by the way, one last thing. I'm leaving the organization at the end of this year. It's been a great run, and I believe in it very, very strongly. It's a wonderful place. The pandemic made a lot of us think about like what's next and what we want to do with our lives. And I used to be a teacher. I was a community organizer. I did a lot of writing. I really loved those things. And so I'm seeking a way to kind of get back to that. And my organization and board has been really, really supportive of that. So I'm very grateful. And there's going to be someone wonderful up here in a couple of years representing Vermont Public to you again. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And yeah, take care.
All right, has every table been released and gotten lunch? That's the most important thing. We need to make sure it's happening. Okay, great. So, as is often with a really well-oiled luncheon and machine, we're in good shape and we're a little bit ahead of schedule, which is fine because we know some of the most important part of today is making sure you all get to connect. If you needed an icebreaker when you walked in and you didn't know who to talk to, now we can talk about Vermont Public's name, and so start a conversation after the luncheon, or find another thing to say, hey, I really liked that award winner happened, or I really liked what Val and Stacy had to say. So always good to give you guys some fodder to chew on and to talk about. But again, if we do wrap up a little bit early, we may find that we do that. Please stick around, grab some coffee. This is for all of you, so make sure you make the connection. I think my staff would agree. We love every component of our luncheons and our events. We love, we love the food. We love our keynotes, but we really love our award ceremonies. One of the things that we think we do at the Chamber of Commerce that we make sure that we do right here specifically locally is making sure that in a world where perhaps we don't praise people enough, perhaps we don't give enough recognition to people, can we take some time out of a busy Wednesday and a busy week to say, hey, good job, we see what you're doing, keep moving forward. And all of you can come together and say to that person, hey, great job, we recognize what you're doing. So if we can do any part of that in this big world here at the Chamber, we want to do that, and that's why we set up these luncheons. So with all that being said, I have the great honor of reading off the award. We have 3 today. I'll kind of read them in mystery. You can try and figure them out as we go along. I will drop some hints and a name eventually, and then we will call that person up. We have Loriana here, who's our great photographer. She's going to come up. You guys are going to take your award. We're going to have a great picture together, and then we have asked each award winner to say a few words if they would like to. So that's how we're going to run, and then we're going to, I'll come back for a couple of words, and we're going to wrap up, and then you can continue to eat lunch and hang out and enjoy each other's company. I will also mention that the award committee, this time we kind of change it up ever so often. This time was made up of stakeholders throughout the region that we called up, some board directors, as well as staff. So that's how these decisions were made. They weren't made in a vacuum. They weren't made by just the staff. We had a committee that came together and through, I believe, absolute consensus, decided on these people. So the first one up, and I'm actually going to grab these awards so I have them ready. They're really cool awards. Michaela, half of Michaela's job, I really do think, is just going out and testing out awards and like really getting to see which ones are just the coolest awards. So I'm really happy about these. This first one up is the namesake of this luncheon. This is the Heart of the Shires Award. And it's awarded to an individual who exemplifies service and leadership in the community space. This person has had an unwavering dedication to service and exemplary leadership within our community for many years now. I remember many years ago pitching to her this new cool fad called social media. And I was a small business person, and I was pitching to her and her leadership team. And when I say the name that this person comes up, you're going to know why. But she was, of course, super supportive, excited, ready to start and try something new. And that's just kind of been, ever since I've known her for many, many years, I've always gotten great encouragement from her. This person has dedicated her life to uplifting the hearts and minds of those in need through her outstanding contributions to our community. Over the years, she has constantly demonstrated her passion for improving the lives of others. Her tireless efforts in the realm of mental health and community well-being have left a significant mark on the people of Bennington and beyond. She has, time and again, exhibited the qualities of compassion, empathy, and resilience that define a true community leader. Today, we come together not only to acknowledge Lorna's exceptional background, but also to celebrate her selfless commitment to our community, to making our community more resilient in the wake of the COVID pandemic. Her unyielding dedication to well-being of others is an inspiration to all of us, and it is with immense gratitude and admiration that we present Lorna Matern of United Counseling Center with the Heart of the Shires
Award. Thank you. I am extremely honored, and I have to say, honestly, very overwhelmed. Ooh, didn't expect that. So you're welcome, Matt, for having that reaction. I do feel honored every day because I get to go to an organization and work in a place at UCS. And I am also very honored every day to work with extraordinary people who work very hard for you and the greater community. And I think one of the things that helps me day in and day out in being a leader in this community in a not-for-profit is that I happen to have the skill of identifying, bringing in, and working with some really incredible people. And 2 of whom are here, Amy Fella, who's operations, and Heidi French, who's community relations. And they are 2 of the wonderful people that I get to sit with around the table who essentially make me look really good. And I appreciate their leadership. And also, I really see this actually as something that is in recognition of UCS's significance within the community, and I really am very grateful for that too. So
Thank you very much.
So as I watch Lorna play with that, just know that these things come out. So just don't drop. That's what makes them so cool. But be careful. Sooner or later, you're going to be able to shave your windshield with that, with the ice. Next up is the Community Leadership Award, and this one is given to a community organization that has gone above and beyond to drive change and inspire others through their mission, vision, and values. This remarkable organization has stood as a beacon of hope and a force for transformation in the lives of countless individuals and families within our community. Their unwavering commitment to provide safe, affordable housing has not only reshaped the physical landscape of our community, but more importantly, it has reshaped the lives and futures of those they serve. Through their tireless efforts, they have bridged the gap between aspiration and reality for many, offering a helpful hand to those in need. Their work is not just about constructing houses, it's about constructing futures, dreams, and brighter tomorrows. Today, as we celebrate Bennington County's Habitat for Humanity, we recognize their exemplary efforts to drive change and inspire others. Their vision of a world where everyone has a decent place to live is a vision we all share, and their actions continue to motivate us to make the vision a reality. We extend our deepest gratitude to Bennington County's Habitat for Humanity and present Cindy Luce, their Executive Director, with the Community Leadership Award as a token of our appreciation for that outstanding contributions to the community. Thank you. Don't drop it.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm not as tall as everybody. Thank you, everybody. This is a great honor. My associate here, Ty Paquette, has been a huge part of our growth. We are both new to the organization. We're both very excited about the things we're doing and are very honored for this award. I do want to invite you all, because we are going to be celebrating on the 19th of November the dedication of our 34th home in Manchester. So that's the 34th house that we've built in Bennington County over the years. We're about 25 years in building. So it's at 1 o'clock, 50 Jennifer Lane. We would love to have you. We are excited because the family is, he is a sheriff, and they have 2 children, and it's the essential workers that we're really excited about being able to help. So we do help people. We don't give away our houses, so it's a hand up. And we are then going to be in Bennington, so invite you all to join us at those houses on Greenview Drive in Jefferson Heights area. So those will be our next 2 houses, and you can watch us on Facebook and social media. So thank you again, and we appreciate your recognition.
All right, thank you. Our final award, this one is special and near and dear to our heart, as it's named after one of our past presidents, our board member, and what I believe is called the Red Tornado, is what she was called back in the day. This is the Lindy Lynch Volunteer of the Year Award. And this is given to an individual who embodies the spirit of the late Lindy Lynch, a true chamber champion and a volunteer in their service and dedication to the community. This person has been described as a quiet and gentle leader that truly gives back because she is passionate about this community. For decades, she has volunteered at many nonprofits while juggling a demanding career and a family. Anyone who has had the privilege to work with her, volunteer with her, or just be in her presence knows her heart is sincere, kind, and gentle. She has served, and this is a list, she has served on the Bennington Rotary Club, the Meals on Wheels, Bennington Rescue Squad Fundraising Committee, Bennington Area Chamber of Commerce, North Shaft Lions as a past president and a current board member, the Sacred Heart School St. Francis School Board, Warm the Children Organizational Committee and volunteer shopper, the Catamount BMX track volunteer, and of course, as a Garlic Fest and Garlic Town volunteer. It is with great pleasure that we give the inaugural Lindy Lynch Volunteer of the Year Award to Wendy Schnile.
I can't speak enough about what a privilege this is, because I had the huge benefit of working with the Red Tornado for many years. I worked alongside her, as most of you did, and you know that she was an innovative, wonderful community leader. And when we think of this award today, this belongs to all of you, too, because we get up every day and we work very hard to make our communities a better place. And then we go to bed at night and we think about the senior citizens that are on a fixed income that cannot afford glasses or hearing aids. And we think about the children in our community that don't have warm winter clothing. And we also think about the 4-year-old girl that lives locally that's battling cancer. So every day, we have to do it. We have to do it for the people that can't do it for themselves. Also, while raising my children, many times they were alongside me working at these community events. And I'm totally convinced it's made them wonderful, gentle, giving people. My daughter, Andre Ann, is here with me today, and I'm very proud of her for giving back to our community. My son lives in Florida, and he does the same. So if you're as lucky as I am, you have probably touched someone, whether it's your child or a friend or another human being, and led by example so that they can continue on with this momentum of community love. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy, Cindy, Lorna. You inspire us every day, and it's just feels good to be in a room of community leaders, nonprofits, people that are working hard for the community that we have here, not only in Bennington and Manchester and throughout the region. We're just happy to celebrate with you all. So please, if you hadn't had a chance to connect with either one of those or all three of those people, please find a way to go connect with them and just learn a little bit more about them. And so with that, we'll conclude the official part of the Heart of the Shires luncheon. I'd like to thank our generous sponsors, Coggins Auto Group and Fidium Fiber, for helping us out here today. I also want to thank our host, the Bennington Museum. Cat TV, thank you, Mike and Cat TV. They'll have a recording of today as well, so if you want to go back and watch any of it. Pangea for that amazing lunch. Let's give a round of applause for Pangea. Also, I want to give a shout out to Abuelas as well. We mentioned them before, but every time we do a luncheon or an annual meeting, we're like, yeah, we need flowers too. And if you know, it's not just going to be flowers. So if you are inclined and would like to take home your centerpieces, you may have to fight out at the table. But if you would like to take one home, please, the centerpieces are for you or your organization. So a great way to cheer up a rather cold and brisk November day. So please take those home with you as well. We have our many supporting sponsors. You've seen them up here. Thank them as well. And then final note, as has been said all day long, I'm up here doing the talking, but there's an army behind me, and sometimes there's definitely an army of two. And so I wanna thank Michaela. Honestly, I come up with these harebrained ideas. I say, Michaela, I got an idea. And then she drives home and doesn't talk to me for a couple of days. And then eventually she says, okay, what's your idea? And I say, well, I really want to put together this luncheon, but it's fall themed, all right? And Michaela just gets it. She knows the flowers she wants to pick out. She knows the centerpieces with the block of wood, the color scheme. She, in a sense, is my vision board. And so I just want to thank Michaela for pulling together, once again, pure magic. And I want to also give a shout out to Erica. Erica is our membership manager. Where Michaela comes alongside with pulling it all together, the details of an event, you are the membership of this organization. And I know that Erica works tirelessly every single day to touch and connect with you, usually through email, but maybe she'll walk into your store as well, or your office, and so she'll connect with you there. And I know she's been working hard. Just really, the beauty of this team, and as I'm sure you've all seen, there are talents that they have. There are what I want to say, focus points that they have. The other person comes alongside and says, where do you need help? So Michaela, you're working on where can I help? And so Erica was there ripping off all the name badges and whatever. Oh, by the way, Erica is also doing all your invoicing this week too for membership. So, I just really appreciate this team. I reflect on it often, and they're just such a powerful team. And I also want to thank the board of directors that is here today, led by Shannon McClenathan, the president. So thank you to our board as well. So with that, we hope you feel really encouraged today. We hope, on a Wednesday, like I said, it's cold out. Hopefully you just feel a little bit more inspired. We encourage you to stick around, grab some more food, grab some coffee, talk to people, connect with people, build relationships, and go out and save the world. Thank you, everybody.